held us. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. We do apologise for being a wee bit late, but Nick decided, Nick's on Nick time basically, so he just turns up whenever he wants, actually. And we've just to sit about and wait on him, basically. Do you know what I mean? But we don't mind. So, anyway, tonight we have the paranormal legend himself, Mr. Nick Mulae, who's well known throughout the world, and not for the good reasons. I mean, he's not known for his timekeeping anyway, I'll tell you that.
He's on his own Nick time. That's what we call it, Nick time.
It's like a Nick bubble and then the rest of the world.
That's right.
So two bubbles. True. We're in this one, and Nick's in this one, all happy. He's a wee happy chappy in that wee bubble. You know what I mean? And we have this lovely lady who we've not seen for a while. Hi. We have Kate Frazzy. There's Eileen in for Phantom Seekers. Hi, Eileen. Sorry we're late, Eileen. Laying this chap down here. I'm just going to keep rubbing it in because I can, basically. Do you know what I mean? But we'll start with UK. How's life? How's things?
Yeah, it's all good, thank you. Yeah, I haven't really been on any live streams for a while. I've just been taking a bit of a break. I'm still researching a lot into the paranormal field. Mostly at the moment, it's to do with consciousness. What is consciousness? What's classed as being conscious, unconscious, all that sort of stuff. But it's getting a bit complicated, so not really sure it's the right topic. But hi, Laura.
There's Laura. Good evening to the lovely Kate and the amazing. You don't get an amazing Kate. It's Nick that gets the amazing. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so nice. I'm great with lovely. Lovely's lovely. Thank you.
Oh, you got a lovely. I never noticed that, and I just got a boss man. That's it. You know what I mean? I just got a boss man. So the study of consciousness, to me, that's whether you're awake or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also the point where you pass away and how long you remain conscious for that. And yeah, the studies to do with when you are put into an unconscious state. Are you really, it's a lot. You know, when you go for an operation, surgery, and you have anesthesia, there's been a lot of studies on that as well, because why is it that you can't feel any pain, but there's still at that level of consciousness, but you're unconscious? Yeah. So, a lot of that sort of stuff.
If it's any consolation, you've totally lost me.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, but that's just what I've been reading. Yeah, exactly, Eileen. It's consciousness awareness as well. There's a difference between those two, apparently. So yeah, all that sort of stuff. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey,
Chris said hi to me and not you.
Oh wait, nope. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
And pickled beef stick.
Oh God!
Right, you're going to need to explain the pickled beef stick.
Oh, don't go down that road, Scott. Oh my gosh.
Oh
you
God!
really
I don't even know how I could even explain it, to be perfectly honest with you. The only way I could just describe it, the pickle part is when we have that guy Pickle Tom that always comes up all the time, which I'm surprised he's not watching right now. But
he
the beef stick thing, I think all of you guys know about it. When I had that picture of that when I was in Colorado, there was something called Nick's Beef Sticks, and before you know it, they started referring me to that name. And that's something we don't have in the Chicago area. That was like out west, like I said, in Colorado. Hey, Jeremy's here, though.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy, young man. Thanks for coming in. So it's a term of endearment then, pickled beef stick.
It is.
Well, that's the first time Chris came up with that name. That I've never heard of before.
You have to find the picture, Nick. It's on your Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's on your Facebook somewhere.
Yeah, the anniversary of it just came came up a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no.
And people think us Scottish folk are weird. I'm saying that's all I'm saying. I'm just putting that out there. Do you know what I mean? Nick, been busy still. I'm just popping in for a moment. He bought a Nick beef stick yesterday.
Lovely. Just a shout out to Jeremy. Jeremy's always busy. He's an author. He's always writing, and he is the king of King because he knows everything about Stephen King. So big shout out to Jeremy and all of his work and studies.
Might need to have a wee chat with you, Jeremy, at some point.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you haven't had Jeremy on. I mean, I think you did once, but I'm surprised you haven't had Jeremy on in a long time.
You have to, Scott. He's so interesting. He really is. I just want to say another big shout out because I know that my dad is watching. So thank you, Dad, for watching.
Oh, that's nice.
Hello, Dad. Sorry, didn't mean to get everyone off topic. Chris, let me just briefly explain your shows. It's very rare that I'll stay on topic. You know, so going off topic is... There
is no topic, just chatting.
No. Well, right. I got that picture. I found it for you. Here's that picture I was talking about. So I'm going to share the screen. And this will give you guys an idea of what I'm showing. Yep, there it is.
Can we zoom in?
Let me see if I can, because I know you can't really do it on Facebook.
Your face.
Oh, damn it. Okay, hold on. Let me try this one more time. I should just copy the picture, because again, I was just showing that directly off Facebook. I'm going to copy it, and then that way I should have the zoom in availability. So bear with me for just a second here, guys.
No worries.
I thought you were going to ask me to zoom in, Kate. I don't have a clue
how. Don't worry.
I only learned last year how to share it, put things up on the screen with pictures and stuff. And I did that Elvis show with David and Craig and Melanie. That was the first kind of slideshow, PowerPoint thing. What'd you call it, B? PowerPoint.
Oh, nice. So you're upgrading now.
I upgraded last year. I've only been doing that, that was 4 years last year I've been doing this, and that was me just starting to upgrade. Been busy,
Yeah. I get it.
I like what Chris said.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
No glasses this time.
Yeah, I do have contacts. I usually wear contacts during the day. It's just that everything is in 4K. So I have to use it wisely. And then in the evenings I wear glasses because
Well, you usually get the spectre bubbles on. I just don't should know wearing them.
Yeah.
Shows how much notice I take in it.
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing when you wear contacts because it really is 4K. Like I can see everything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
My eyes have upgraded.
No, they asked me years. Titian asked me years if I wanted contacts, and no, I mean years and years ago I knew this girl and she had contacts, and she used to put them in, stick her fingers in her eye to put them in, and she'd this habit of falling asleep with them in, and she got up in the morning, her eyes were all red and puffy and dry, and that just put me right off.
It does take time. Like the first time that I put my contacts in, it would take me 3 hours to do it, to sort of psych yourself up and get used to touching your eyes and the contacts and everything. But honestly, after 6 months, you get so used to it that you just pop them in and out. You don't even think about it. So yeah, to anyone who wants to try contacts, stick with it. It's all fine. And then
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
No, I just couldn't do it. Plus, I think I look more charming with my specs.
Yeah, you look very studious.
Yeah.
Very, very what?
And Chris and Jeremy.
You study a lot.
Go ahead, Kate. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, you mean intelligent?
Yeah.
Just see what you mean. No, don't use fancy words with me. I'm from Glasgow, remember?
Well, it's a bit different, but yeah, we'll go with intelligent. That's fine. Yeah.
I prefer intelligent.
Yeah, Chris and Jeremy, just so you guys know, I was on Nick Time today. You didn't hear.
Yeah, he was. By the skin of your teeth, Nick. You just made it in time.
Yeah, I did.
I was late again, Watch break. I mean, I haven't seen you look extinguished. Thanks very much.
Oh. Is that a good thing? Because I think of extinguish as in like to put out a fire. So like, are you tired or?
I got
Can
that.
we just go with extinguished as a compliment? Can we just go with that?
Let's do it as a compliment.
You're starting to get all technical now, Kate, and it's just no working. You know what I mean? So you try to say I look like a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, we have to put you out because you're on fire. Extinguish you.
Okay, so here we go. I have the zooming effect this time. But yeah, you'll get the idea. This is
there it is. Nick stick.
All right, got it. Nick, right, got it now.
So that's where his nickname comes from. This is the historic photo.
Yeah, and I'm embarrassed as hell in that picture.
So they don't have these in Illinois.
No, they don't.
Oh,
This was when we were still in Colorado and we were on our way back.
Oh yeah, which is why Chris had some, because Chris is in Colorado. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. This was I think it's kind of a Western state kind of thing to get, so that's why we don't have them over here.
And it's like, I guess it's similar to a pepperami, Scott. You know the pepperami stick.
Cannot stand them.
Oh, they stink, don't they?
Oh, they stink. They stink. Same as Doritos.
Yeah.
Cannot. The wee one had a packet of Doritos earlier on, and she came over and breathed on me.
Oh God!
Not a good experience. I don't know why they make them so smelly. We will talk paranormal, folks. Don't worry, we will get it.
I'm just going to make it perfectly clear, contrary to popular belief, that's actually a good thing for me because I don't even eat beef sticks.
You're just throwing that out there, Nick.
Yeah.
I don't even eat beef sticks.
It's just that a play on words distinguished for a Ouija. See, actually, we are a Ouija. That's what folk from Glasgow called Ouijas.
Not wedgie, then.
No, a Ouija. No, a Ouija.
Oh,
I was thinking wedgie too.
Yeah, I know, right?
I said it, but you're full of charm tonight, are you? The charm is just oozing out of you. You know what I mean? I've been thinking of getting RLE. No idea what that is, buddy. Sorry. I have a version of laser.
Oh, I think laser. So that is the one thing I'm not brave enough to do. I'm not brave enough to do laser eye surgery. I'm a bit terrified of doing that. So yeah.
It's a painful process. Plus, it's also very, very expensive.
Yeah. But honestly, that's amazing that you had it done, Jeremy. And Chris, if you do get it done, like, kudos to you. I couldn't do that. I'm too scared.
I mean, it's good that folk get it done and it works and accurate, but the fingers in the eye, anything to do with the eyes is a big, a big no-no. So Nick, dare we ask what you've been up to?
So for starters, I mean, I haven't really been doing like too much recently as far as paranormal investigations are concerned. Although about 2 months ago, Jeremy's still watching, so he could add to this too. I did have my first paranormal investigation in quite a long time at the Old Lake County Jail in Crown Point, Indiana, which Kate was also originally supposed to go to, but unfortunately you couldn't.
Yeah, I wasn't so well at that point, but
she was not feeling. Had she gone, that would have been her first ever paranormal investigation whatsoever. So, but aside from that, however, I was just at another Paracon just last week at Silicon down in Central Illinois. And I actually have another Paracon next weekend, the Rock Island Paracon in Rock Island, which is just on the Illinois-Iowa border on the Mississippi River. And they're supposed to have quite a number of names at this event, some of which I've seen before, others I haven't. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And we went to a Paracon together, didn't we?
I was going to say, tell them about your first ever Paracon you finally went to.
It was really good. I got to meet lots of lovely people in the field. Really, really nice environment, nice atmosphere. Lots of vendors went there. I really enjoyed it. And we finally got to meet Joe. Which was great. And who else was there? It's just a blur now. But yeah, I just remember meeting some... Jack as well, and Cara Phillips. Do you remember her, Scott? She was on your show a few times.
She's coming back in November.
Yeah, I got to meet
I'll have to
her,
go
which was
back in
really
November.
lovely. Yeah, so it was great.
She's a bit
really,
nuts.
really great.
Chris Fleming was there too.
And Chris Fleming, yeah, he was there too. So I had a good conversation with him because he sort of picked me out because he said, "Oh, you English?" I was like, "Yeah," and then that was it. We were talking for an hour, I think. So
I was there for the whole time, and I was just standing there listening in.
I know. I felt bad for you because I was like,
well, I can understand why Chris felt that way because we don't have that big of a huge British population in Chicago. So when you hear that accent, I think that's what made it so unique for your accent, Kate.
Yeah.
He's lucky he met an English person and not a Scottish person then, because there's no chance he would ever understand us.
I don't think I've ever met a Scottish person in Illinois, to be honest. I don't know about you, Nick, but it's very rare to see.
Yeah, I don't think so. See, what's interesting about Chicago, and Kate already knows this, is that Chicago is known for having quite a diverse community. It's been like that for over 100+ years since its founding, because Chicago, unlike most cities, with the exception of maybe New York City in this case, they have like different districts, divisions. So like you have like your German section, your Italian section, Polish section. I'm sure we have, even a British section as well, but that is an area that I've never been to. So unless you're kind of within, of course, I've been to the Irish district, so like, and Polish area. So unless you're actually in that district part of the city, you're not really going to hear very many people with the Scottish or British accent whatsoever.
Yeah, it's very nice pizza and hot doggy.
That's what we're known for too. Our Chicago.
What does that mean, Jeremy? I was supposed to be your bait.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
What I have to back to that one. I'm curious.
Yeah,
what
me
he means
too.
by that was when she was originally supposed to go to the Old Lake County Jail, because it was her first time ever going to the jail, and this would have been her first investigation, like ever. That Jeremy wanted her to be the bait.
All right, so you were just going to get thrown in, basically.
It was essentially kind of like the initiation ritual for her.
Okay. That sounds terrifying.
You're looking a bit worried, Kate.
Yeah, that is a bit terrifying.
Yeah, like what Eileen said, newbies are always bait.
Yeah, it must be that energy, I guess.
But you don't find that sometimes if you go to the same location, right? Quite a few times, and then you take somebody new with you. You don't think maybe you've got a better chance of getting communication because you've got a new face there?
I honestly go ahead, Kate, go on.
Oh no, you go. I was just saying, yeah, it could be.
Yeah, what Jeremy said.
I know. What?
I honestly believe I think we definitely do get more activity whenever we have a new face that comes along, because although Kate couldn't make it, we did have a new member of my team, which even I forgot about the bait part myself. Because again, it had been the first time in over a year since I've been on an investigation. We had an investigator by the name of Genevieve. Now, Genevieve has investigated a few other times in the past, though not as frequently. But this was her first time that she was ever investigating with us, and again, her first time at the jail. And as far as I'm concerned, she had a great time with us, and she wants to investigate not only that jail again, but with us, for another occasion. I mean, I have been trying to get her out to some of the Paracons, at least in the meantime, but I know she's been really busy recently. But I know she's ready to get out for the next one. So it's pretty much safe to say that she's now an official member of our crew.
That's great. This is the same place where you recorded that mist.
That's correct.
That's correct. Do you want to have you told Scott about the mist? Because I've watched the video and even I can't pinpoint what that is. That is really, really strange, that mist that you caught.
Yeah, I actually did show the footage here on your show stuff probably about a year or so ago, but it's just such a compelling piece of footage. And I probably said this before, but I'll say it again. I have sent that footage to like the most hardcore skeptics out there, like who could really debunk it, and they have no idea whatsoever after I answered all their questions. I mean, there's only like maybe one other person that I'm going to send this footage to, and that's Karen O'Keefe from Most Haunted.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah, the parapsychologist.
Right? Parapsychologist. Yeah. So, I kind of figured if I send it to him, but also, in fact, not only just send it to him, but I've already gotten a couple requests to send that footage over for Paranormal Caught on Camera. But not only just that show, the other show, Unexplained Caught on Camera, which is essentially the British version of the show, and Karen O'Keefe is featured on that show. So I kind of figured it was probably an important decision to send it for both shows, so that way also Karen O'Keefe could see it for himself. And I got to be honest, if he can't even figure out a way to debunk it himself, I don't know where else I could turn to at that point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers for coming in, Jeremy. You take care. I'm going to talk to you soon, young man.
Yeah, especially because usually with mist, it's around people and it comes from the floor, because that's the logical explanation of, mist hanging there and rising. But in this case, it came from the ceiling, and it's so dark and it just covers that person entirely. And then at some point it just goes. And you're just left thinking, what on earth was that? It was
seems
so
to have
odd.
purpose.
Yeah.
I had Black Mist and camera leave me Bannockburn House as it left all security lights came on and an alarm went off. I have a Black Mist. That's the same comment. That's popped up twice here. The one that Nick caught, it seems to have a purpose, if that makes sense. Moves with purpose. You get missing that, and sometimes you kind of float about, and then they don't move, they kind of fade slowly, like cigarette smoke or whatever. But
that's what it looked like. It looked like it just sort of faded.
Yeah, and it shoots down from the ceiling instead of like your typical mist that usually dissipates after a short while. Now, we did recently come to some kind of conclusion of why it also moved the way it did. Ironically enough, this was a jail that, although they didn't necessarily do it in the jail, considering that it was built in the late 19th century and throughout the early 20th century as well, where Indiana, like many of the states at that time, their primary executions was by hanging. So how do we not know? Maybe it could be a hung victim or something, considering it came from the ceiling.
Interesting.
That's true. That is true. But I want to get back to you were saying, Kate, about this consciousness thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, obviously everybody passes away in many different ways. It could be sudden, it could be through illness, old age, whatever. So the study you're doing is, how long are we aware of us passing? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm trying to. There's a lot of really interesting new studies on this, and I can post them. I can send you the links, and then if you want to post them, you can. That's totally fine. There's a lot of really, really good stuff out there, very, very recent, that is just seriously looking into that state of when you pass. And a lot of people as well have had that out-of-body experience where they are almost like they have passed away, but then thankfully they're brought back. So there's a lot of also witness accounts, serious accounts this time, because I don't think it was really taken that seriously in the past of what people have experienced. And it's a very vast study, so it's not just 10 people. They're getting a lot of accounts from a lot of different people about that feeling of what happened when you lost consciousness or wasn't aware that you were in your body, up to the point of like that dream state and passing away physically and then being brought back. So I think it's just such an interesting thing to research and to gather all of those accounts so that science will have more of an understanding about what the brain does when that happens, and especially the life flashing before your eyes, the white light that you see and stuff like that. There's a lot of connection to the brain and chemicals to the brain, but then how do you explain consciousness and being aware? And so that's basically what my apart from playing Minecraft, my other free time is researching or all of the new fantastic work that researchers are doing in this field. And I feel like very recently, because there's been a lot about UAPs and technology and potential aliens, and there's just so much more acceptance for paranormal and that sort of topic, that these are not, they're just getting more important. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's more research being done, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
People are sitting up and deciding to look into it more now and see and
more accepting of it. Yeah.
Chris is asking, are you going to write a book?
Oh gosh, I would love to write a book. One of my goals is to write a children's book, so totally different, but I would love to write a children's book.
Paranormal children's book.
Yeah.
There is already one out, believe it or not.
Maybe in the future, we'll see. I don't know.
I would say these questions can never be full answered till we cross the veil. The brain is so complex and not fully understood. Chris says, I don't remember a lot when I was in a coma, but I'm sure I had an experience. But that's the thing. It's a question that everybody wants to know the answer to. Everybody's curious about, Roald Dahl style.
Roald Dahl style, yeah.
Cause hallucinogenic. I'm honestly say that word, Eileen. Hallucinogenic. That's a big word, that. That's a
hallucinogenic. Yeah.
Hallucinogenic, yeah.
Experiences.
Even Sarah said, well done. Thanks very much. Hallucinogenic. Let's see it again.
But I also would really like to know how much of that experience is chemicals in the brain, because your body, the brain looks after you, or is supposed to look after you. So how much is it sort of looking after itself and releasing all of these different chemicals and things so that you're not stressed about what happens at the end and all that sort of thing. So I think that's just really what they're trying to work out, is how much of that is biology and how much of it is actually what we would class as supernatural paranormal, where you have that state of, we don't know, that can't just be chemicals, like that could be something else. Or
it's funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that, Kate, because there's actually, I don't think I even told you about this before. Now, this will partially sound a little bit unrelated, but it's going to go right back. It will go right back to it, what you're talking about. It's involving the brain, obviously, but I mean, I'm sure you know by now, Kate, for stars, you've heard of like one of Chicago's most notorious serial killers was H.H. Holmes here. That's correct?
Yeah.
So the great-great-great-grandson, Jeff, I forgot his last name, but we had him at one of our Paracons a couple of years ago. He was a speaker, and I don't know if you guys saw, he had a short series on the History Channel, like where they were trying to find, it was like an 8-part series that they did of trying to find certain things involving H.H. Holmes. Yeah. Now, near the end of the investigation, they finally did find his burial spot, which was an unmarked grave, for over almost 130 years. Now, he said when they found it, they literally were exhuming his grave. And he said for him, it was like he felt like he was a kid at a candy store. He was super excited to see what they were going to discover involved in this ancestor who was, not just Chicago, but one of America's notorious, serial killers. What they had found and received was they did find a couple partial remains of his skeleton, which is understandable because he was executed in 1894. So it had been over 130 years. So most of his body was gone. It was mostly just dust, but there were still some sections of his skeleton as well as even his skull. Like the bottom half of his skull was gone, but the top portion was still intact. But as they were examining it back at the medical office and kind of going through a CAT scan, they noticed something really strange. Something organic was still within the skull. And they're like, how's that possible? That can't be like, they were like, that can't be right. So they started scanning more of the skull itself, and they had to go through more tests to really see if the results were accurate, which they were. They had discovered that even over 130 years after he was executed, they discovered his brain, even after all this time, was still intact. And yeah, I mean, it was like, well, how could this be? Like, that's impossible, because when you die, the first things that you go through in rigor mortis, your organs are the first to go.
Yeah.
They die very quickly because, they're no longer functioning. But somehow, after all this time, his brain was still intact. It was almost like as if the skull acted as like a time capsule and kept his brain still intact for over a century, which it's just like, I mean, when he told us that, I mean, I'm sure I was not the only one in the audience. My jaw just dropped when I heard about it. I mean, understandably, they were not going to cut into the skull to try to get more samples of it, because obviously if they cut into the skull, that would have been it then immediately. So they were only able to examine it from the outside portion of it. But it just makes you wonder, not just the brain itself, knowing how long it had survived for so long, but just knowing like what kind of consciousness could still be remaining in that brain after he died, so long ago.
That's interesting. I have to look into that. I didn't know any of that. Wow.
You see, that's the thing that's always fascinated me about the talk about the consciousness and stuff like that when you pass away. I mean, for example, if you get somebody who's in hospital terminally, ill, and they're in and out of consciousness, and then they just, they drift away, basically. Some of the doctors say they just went to sleep and that was it. You think to yourself, well, that person, when you go to sleep, some folk dream, some folk don't. But how can I explain this? When the person that's in the bed, loses consciousness or goes to sleep, whatever way you want to put it, when do they realise that they've actually passed away?
There's a lot of research.
There's no dreaming.
There's a lot of research to suggest that you do know. And there's just a lot of questions around that. Like you consciously know that that's happening, and it's happened. And sort of after that, it's very, very interesting. There's also a lot of answers in nature as well. I don't know if you guys read recently, they compared humanity and humans to bees, where we actually emit very, very, very low vibrations, which everyone has. So there's this very low hum of vibration, and that's sort of how we can sense and feel with another person. Like some people you get on, you just have a feeling with them and you like get on really well, and others you don't. You're like, oh, they seem a bit dodgy or something. So that is a real thing now. So I think there's so many answers in nature as well, and I think that really needs to be investigated more. There's so many similarities that we have with bees or ants, or it's very, very, it's just really fascinating.
But I know what you mean. I go with most people, but there has been occasions that I've met somebody, maybe if it's in a pub or whatever, somebody wanting to just be somebody. I don't like coming folk who say, well, you don't know him. I say, I know I don't know him, but there's just something.
You just feel it, don't you?
No, right? just doesn't. I mean, maybe a guy might be a totally nice guy and stuff like that, but you just get this kind of feeling there's something dodgy about him. Eileen's asking, without any electrical impulse or energy, can brain function be retained?
Well, yeah, that's the big question, right? But that's the same thing as when people talk about spirits and ghosts. They talk about sight, smell, hearing. How can they do that when they have no physical body? How are they seeing you? How are they listening to you? How are they responding to you when they have no body? So that's a really, really good question, I think, because we don't know.
Well, it even extends. It even extends too to like when people see ghosts, you know, especially if it was somebody that died over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And they appear exactly like the way they did in life, like the clothes they wore. Like, let's say if it was somebody who died in the 1800s or early 1900s, where, you know, most people, especially guys at that time, would wear suits and a top hat. And it makes you wonder, like, how are they doing that? Because they don't have that stuff within their possession when they die.
Yeah.
Even if you're buried with it, you're still technically leaving it behind. You're not actually bringing it with you.
Essentially, the spirit cannot be compared to a physical state. But I know you're talking about, funny enough, Sarah and I were talking about this yesterday morning. Sarah says to me, how can spirits talk to us? I mean, always the same as you, Nick. You know, we've all done a lot of investigations, and at one point we've heard, you know, a voice, a laugh, you know, something in real time that we can't explain. I think, well, you know, like the last investigation we did was at an old estate in near Stirling, what have you, and I heard a woman's distinct laugh. It was 3 or 4 seconds, but it was a kind of ha 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 ha, and it made me turn round, but there was nobody there. You know, Laura was there, but she was away in front in a room. But this thing came from behind me. I definitely heard that, you know, and it makes you think. She says, how can spirit talk to you if they don't possess, you know, if they don't have a voice box, basically?
So I'm more in the theory of parallel sort of dimensions. So I often wonder if, this is just my opinion entirely, I often wonder that when you do pass over, is that then going into another dimension, alternative timelines, whatever you want to call it, all of that sort of stuff? Because then that would, for me, explain more about ghosts and spirits, that you are seeing them in an overlap. So you are then sort of, when the veil is a little bit less thick, the veil is thinner and you're kind of very, very close, then you're able to sort of, they're living their lives and you're living your life. And there's that sort of overlap where, maybe you can communicate using certain tools and, you know, vibrations or, you know, like white noise and like all that sort of stuff, because like it's so thin. So that's sort of one theory that I'm sort of more interested in than is it somebody that's just come back. But that's just my opinion.
Thanks for bringing that up, Kate, because Eileen loves us and she knows that she totally loses me with this multi-layer dimensional thing. Exactly. That's why she's put the big yes, because she knows I get totally lost with all that kind of intelligent stuff. So yes, Eileen, it's that multi-layer dimensional thingy-bobbery, jukery, thingy-jig.
Because there's so much in history about this, sort of the ancient history and mythology and all of the folk tales. And, you know, if you go back and look at all these things, and there's just it's so rich to do with that stuff. And countries that are so far away seem to have very similar beliefs that you just think, how is that even possible? Like, there's a lot. I could talk about this for hours, but I don't want to take up too much time. But yeah, that's just my thinking.
What's your thinking, Nick?
I think I definitely would agree with a lot of what Kate had said. And I was just thinking to myself, like with what you were saying, Kate, about like, how when it comes to different countries, yet they have similar beliefs, like, whatever the culture is. Yeah. I have noticed kind of a distinction between two certain groups, because obviously over here in the States, we have Native Americans, which, it's been this has always been their home for thousands of years. And then, of course, I also thought similarly in Australia, where you have the Aboriginal people. And although the cultures are, of course, very different from each other when you really compare the two, they still, however, have similar philosophies. Both of them do kind of have the same beliefs. They're both spiritual groups. And that's, in a way, if you really think about it, when it comes to like the Aboriginals of Australia, they're essentially like pretty much the native Australians in this case. So there's just something interesting between the two groups, that there's just a lot of similar, even though, again, it's different as far as culture is concerned. Their belief systems are very similar. So it's almost the same question, saying, how were they able to adapt such similar belief systems when these are groups that, yes, they've existed for thousands of years, but most likely up until recently, they never really had any type of connection or contact with each other.
The layers breach at times and melt into each other, causing a bit of an open window between dimensions. Totally lost me that, Eileen. Totally.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Like I said about the veil, sort of thinning, and then you can sort of cross over a little bit. But yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
Just get back to the voice thing again. How can spirits speak with? I mean, we picked up quite a few EVPs. No doubt you have as well, Nick.
Yes.
Intelligent ones. A quick example is with Loud and Kirk investigation we did. Ad says, I was up at the farm. There's a farm there in the Kirk. There's a connection. I say I was up at the farm, and with a woman's voice very clearly turning and say almost immediately after it, Scott was up at the house. I thought, well, that's intelligent,
it is.
She's standing there listening to what I'm saying. Every time we mention the farm or we mention the house, we always get some kind of response. So that's always puzzled me as well. How are they managing to, how can we hear them say that?
Right.
One test I would love to do is to have a series of voice recordings. You said EPGs, right?
EVPs,
EVPs, sorry. EVPs, and just have 50 people in a room and have them listen to each segment and just tell them, just write down what you hear. And I would just love to know if everyone would come out with the same thing or if they would hear different things. Just as an experiment, because I'm not very experienced with EVPs. I don't know, but there's been a few investigators where they record a voice.
Hey,
like
Joe.
They hear a voice. Hi, Joe. And they're like, oh my gosh, it said this. And everyone's like, really? And they're like, yeah, listen, it says this. And they're like, oh, you're right. And I'm like, are they just hearing that because he said that they said that? Or are they actually hearing that? Because I never hear that when I listen to EVPs. I don't hear anything. I just hear noise. So that's definitely something I would love to see on a huge scale test, to see how many people would come out with the same thing without any influence of anyone telling them what they heard in an EVP.
Chris got a poor suggestion. We've had a lot of EVPs. I don't doubt Nick has as well. And a lot of them are very hard to make out. You think you hear a particular word, whatever, and somebody say, you know, no, they never said that. So when we get cases like that, we just bin them, you know, because nobody can agree on what we said. But I mean, we have had quite a few where it's crystal clear, you know, the answer we've had back, and we've been lucky enough that there's been, you know, a handful of people here at the same, and everybody's heard it at the same time, with coming back. But EVPs are a hard one because, you know, as you know, Nick, there's 101 interpretations of a word you can hear, you know.
Yeah, because I've never heard anything, and I would love to hear something. I would really love to hear something crystal clear, but I never have. So that's just my limited experience with it.
Well, it's also funny about, you know, all this talk about EVPs. I'm not sure if I even told you guys this previously, but before, obviously, I got that footage of the Old Lake County Jail shadow. I've captured a number of EVPs on an old digital recorder. In fact, my very first one that I ever caught, believe it or not, was actually almost 20 years ago, back when I was 14 years old. And I don't have the audio with me right now. And unfortunately, again, it was, like I said, it was recorded off an old digital recorder. It was one of those types you couldn't transfer it onto the computer. So the only way I'd ever be able to show it is either play it on camera, or if I would have to record it through my phone itself. But unfortunately, when you do hear it, it's a little bit hard to, even still to this day, it's still hard to understand exactly what I captured. Like, when I first heard this audio, it sounded like as if it was whispering, like saying, "I am." I'm not. That's what it sounded like, but it was more of like a kind of like a raspy whisper that I heard. But now looking back and reviewing it, I'm really not sure exactly what it was that I captured, and especially again, you know, at such a young age, at only 14 years old, to be getting something like that, you know, still during my infancy of, you know, being involved in the paranormal. That's quite remarkable to kind of get that kind of debut at such a young age.
I'd say one of the best ones we've had was when we were at Spink. It was a team in Glasgow we did a lot with, and we were doing the location. It's an old school, and there was about 10 years or something that we came out with, was the gym hall, basically, and you went into a small corridor. We all went into the corridor, and we heard a little girl. Was it hi or hello? Hi. There was a little girl who says, "Hi."
That's interesting.
Everybody stopped at the same time, and everybody just turned and looked at each other because we all heard this little girl.
Oh, that's so interesting. Wow. Yeah, that would be so amazing to experience that.
It's times like that when everybody stops, because you can't fake surprise. You know, you can act surprised, but you can tell the difference between if somebody's, you know, faking it or they're genuinely shocked or surprised, and everybody just stopped and, you know, kind of looked about, kind of deer in the headlights kind of look sort of thing. I was, did you? And everybody said, we heard a little girl say hi. I'll just stick these comments up. Why is every EVP in English, even the Abbey had a Herman German population respond to German words, but always in English? We've had, Fred was a comment Eileen was made as well. We've had replies in French before.
Interesting.
I have heard of a few. I actually have heard of a few EVPs, like not in person, but like on some of the shows where they have captured them in other languages. So, it's probably not uncommon when you're in a particular country to get those kind of things. But I get where Chris is coming from, though.
Yeah, I've seen a female voice at Hales Castle. I kiss him here, hereby all real time is indisputable. On the page, caught in video. That's when you catch it in video. You know, unfortunately, that wee girl, we never, because we were just moving from one room to another, so we never weren't able to pick up. The other thing I find astounding, I want your guys' opinion on this, is while we're on the subject EVPs and hearing things, is how sometimes you can hear something crystal clear, but everybody else besides you can't.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is we did an old estate a few years ago, and we took another team in, and before they started the investigation, I took them in a wee wander just to show them the safe bits and etc. And I had them in the basement in a room, and I heard a woman say, "Why?" Right, really kind of rough Scottish, "Why?" And I turned and looked at the other team. None of them heard it, but I heard it, and it was for the opposite side to where this team was standing. I said, did none of you hear that? And they were, never heard a thing. But I know I heard it. What do you guys think? Have you ever been in that kind of situation?
It's a really good question, actually.
I have heard things, but you always brush it off, don't you? You just think, oh, I'm just hearing things. Or it sounded like a loved one who is still alive. And you just think, oh, I'm just hearing things, or it's just habit or something like that. So that's just been my experience. But I've never had anything that I couldn't explain happen, like paranormally, I don't think. No.
Will be you, Nick?
Oh, let's see. Sorry, I was actually just looking something up involving EVPs because I saw something. Well, this was actually a couple months ago, but I can't remember. But I think honestly, like when it comes to like certain EVPs and whatnot, and also just like voices, it's I do recall that I've had at least one or two experiences where I thought I heard this particular voice, and although a little bit differently, the others around me had also heard it too, but in their case, they heard it differently. So it's not even just a matter of like at times you'll hear it yourself and then the others won't. There's other times that everyone will hear it, but they all hear it differently. It's the same exact thing too, also not just with the EVPs, but when you're also seeing a full body apparition. I mean, one time, I still remember one time, Tom McNicholas was with me on this, and so was actually Mike Ricksecker when we investigated the Mineral Springs Hotel down in Alton, Illinois. That's in the southern part of the state, which is often regarded as one of the most haunted small towns in America. And we actually saw the apparition of a little girl that materialized several feet down the hallway from us. But we also, we knew that we saw the same entity, but the way how she was appearing was a lot was different. I saw when she first, appeared, I saw her kind of like show up. Like I saw the feet first, then I saw the skirt. It was like whatever was there. It was like she was working her way up to show her full frame and figure. So it started with little shoes with a skirt. Then it started off with then it continued with the torso. And then I saw the full figure with the head and long blonde hair. But in Tom's case, he saw it the opposite way. He saw her from the head down. From the head first, and then it kind of worked its way down from her. So it's not just a matter of just the voices, but it's also what you see that can also kind of play differently for each eyewitness.
Yeah.
That is a strange one, isn't it?
Do you think that's residual, or do you think it's other dimensional, or do you think she's just there all the time and she's come back?
I think honestly it's probably a combination of the two. I think it is residual because she has been seen numerous occasions at that hotel. And she's not the only entity that's said to haunt this hotel. There's other spirits that definitely do haunt it. And also when I say hotel, this is not like actually a hotel that you could stay in like you would think. The actual hotel closed down I think it closed down almost 50 years ago back in the 70s, but they did reopen it, but it's not operating like as you would expect a hotel, because like parts of the walls of like where some of these rooms are no longer there. So you could literally walk the threshold into another room.
Okay.
So exactly who this little girl is, I'm not entirely sure. I assume most likely she was probably a previous guest at that hotel. And probably back in her day, it was a great place to be. I mean, they did have a swimming pool, back when it was in operation. So it was meant to be like the type of hotel for the entire family to enjoy. And the one thing I can also remember too, like when I even saw this apparition, was two things. One is just her appearance. I mean, she looked like her dress was like from the early 20th century. I would probably say somewhere around the 1910s or 1920s. So as you would expect, and I know a lot of people have described it, to me, it was almost like as if I was watching a scene out of a silent movie from that era. She looked like she was from a scene from one of those silent films. Of course, obviously, understandably, that was the typical type of dress and attire that people wore back in the day, but still, it just had that look to it. But the other surprising thing is that all of us had cameras when we saw this apparition, and including myself, we all had them in our hands, yet nobody tried to take a photograph.
Interesting.
Of this. Although I think I do recall that I think I did try taking a picture from my phone, but it was pitch black in the hallway. When I tried taking the picture, it was black. I couldn't get anything off of it. So that was kind of a one and done deal. Thinking to myself, in spite of the incredible experience and encounter we were having, the one thing I knew for sure, at least from my phone, was that I wasn't going to be able to capture anything on my phone.
Yeah. That's so interesting that you mentioned that the girl was like a silent film, that sort of black and white silent film.
She had kind of a black and white look to her too. And based on her appearance, I forgot to mention, she probably had to have been no more than maybe 7 or 8 years old.
That's so interesting, because my dad told me about an experience that he had at a friend's house where he thought that he was like falling asleep, and he had this image that came up, and it was sort of like that sort of film quality to it, with a lady pinning her hat in a mirror, and he could like describe this lady to a pin, exactly what she looked like, what she was doing and everything. And then when he came around from that, he just sort of mentioned it to his friend, sort of this weird vision thing. And his friend was like, oh my gosh, that's my great aunt. And he found a picture of her, and it was exactly as my dad described. And my dad would no way have known that otherwise, apart from that. But that's so interesting that you both mentioned that film quality to it. And I'm like, what is that? Is that residual? Is that really what residual energy looks like then? Sort of like it's a recording from something,
it's like
something's emitting it.
Literally something like from like a part of a movie, like as if it's almost like as if someone just cut a piece of that film out, copied and pasted it like right in front of you. That's the way how I describe it.
That's really cool.
I've got some comments here. I've got 2 questions. I've got a question for you on now. We talk about residual hauntings. So what I'm going to do, hold on. Spirit can be selective who they manifest to. So that's all about when I heard the woman. You can see a full body. I had an encounter with a French airman, and RAF base was informing. I asked about him, and he was in spirit, but was very real to me. Also serving Wednesday Maid's Hotel in Norwich during a Christmas meal. But again, she was not staff in costume and has been seen often.
I'm from Norwich, Eileen. So I'm originally from Norwich.
Posh part, the posh part of the UK, Eileen.
No, it's not that posh. Not Cambridge or
Cambridge.
Oxford.
Well, don't talk about Kate. I had a bad experience there many years ago. We were going to go there. No, I was living in London. I was to meet workmen in London, and they were meant to meet me at a certain time, so it's 7 in the morning. And so they were late, so I phoned them, and the guy says, we're in Cambridge, you're meant to be in Cambridge.
Oh,
London.
no.
So I phoned my office. I said, wait a minute, I'm meant to be in London, ain't I? He says, aye. But it was the address, was the same address was in Cambridge as well. So these guys had went to Cambridge and
Oh,
I
dear.
said to London. So I waited about 5 hours on them coming back to meet
That's
me.
crazy.
You went back with these 2 questions. But here's a maid's
Oh,
head.
lovely. Yeah, Tombland is an amazing, it's medieval. Yeah, incredible. Wow. I have to check that out.
Before I stick up these.
I almost forgot to mention something. This goes back, by the way, also with the EVPs, like when it comes to like different languages and whatnot. I just recently I saw this a couple years ago. It's from a well-known investigator's YouTube channel. I think she's from Australia, I believe. You guys know Amy's Crypt, right? You guys familiar with that channel?
I haven't heard of it, no.
Yeah. She's not only investigating locations throughout Australia, she's gone like all over the world, like almost every continent at this point. And she's just like, she's pretty young to be doing it. Like she's got to be at least like by now in her late 20s, I want to say. So she's been really professional. Yes. Okay. So Eileen confirmed it. Yeah. Amy's Australian. Yeah. So she's been doing this now for the last several years. And there was one time I did watch both videos of this, of what she's done. In fact, come to think of it now, when it comes to Amy, we in fact awarded her when we used to do the Paranormal Awards a couple years ago. She was she won one of the awards, and she and her crew, they investigated the Paris catacombs, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, hearing about that location. And when the way how they did their investigation, they went to the area obviously where it's allowed, where you're allowed to go through, but they also went to the unauthorized areas, which those have been sealed off to the public for decades, which they're actually referred, contrary to popular belief, they're actually referred more to the mines or tunnels of Paris in the unauthorized areas. But for both locals and people who know about it, the entire subterranean system has often mistakenly been referred to as the catacombs. So they actually went to the unauthorized areas. They got to explore it, and not surprisingly, they did get lost for a brief period because it's so easy to get lost in those tunnels. But in spite of that, they did take the opportunity to do an investigation in these tunnels, and they used like a special app to translate, because understandably, it's Paris, France. So as you can imagine, you're probably not going to get a lot of English responses with any type of entities that are down in the tunnels. So they did an EVP session. They waited for a couple minutes, and then they re-listened to it. And as you would expect, they did get a couple EVPs. The vast majority of them, of course, were in French. But to their surprise, at least one or two of the responses they got were in English, which they were not expecting, because, yes, I know in a way English is spoken in France today, but when you look at all the human remains, all those bones that are thrown into the catacombs, because in 1795, millions of bodies were exhumed from Paris cemeteries and dumped into the catacombs. And a lot of people often ask, who were these people? It wasn't just from that time in 1795. They are obviously the remains of French residents, who had died over the last 1,000 years. So when you think about it, over the last 1,000 years, like over 1,000 years ago, the chances of having any type of English in France at that time, or any part of Europe whatsoever, with the exception of the UK and Ireland, would have been very, very rare to have any kind of communication with any type of English. So having communication with someone who may have died over 1,000 years ago, and their remains have been thrown into the catacombs ever since, I would find it a little bit unusual to have an English response, because, like I said, there wouldn't have been as much English language in France in those days.
Some gone missing in Paris tunnels. One famous case of cameras receiving some strange footage and sounds on it. I'd love to go down to the catacomb myself and just have a wander, you know what I mean? But I'm weary of time, so I get 3 questions and then we'll wind it up, folks. One's is mine and 2 belong to Chris. My question is just jumping back to the consciousness bit and the residual hauntings. Say, for example, we all know what residual haunting is. And so say, for example, you've got somebody from the 18th century, right, and they're ploughing a field. The person who's doing the actual ploughing, that person is. Do you think they're aware of the fact that they've passed on? Does that make sense? I know the question I've got in my head.
I think in my case, I would just think it's the time lapse. If you're having paranormal activity or you're seeing this person, so I would, for me, I would think we're just passing through and we're just on the same, like in the same space right now. So I wouldn't think that that person has passed on yet. They're just living their life parallel to where I am in that place at that moment. That's my opinion. But yeah, Nick. Yeah.
I think it's the same thing, although I think mine's a little bit different, though, however, because, you hear the old thing about, like, so many of these spirits don't realize that they're actually dead. I honestly... Pickle Tom's in the chat. There he is. I was wondering
there he is. Oh, we've been waiting for you to come in.
Yeah. But anyways, I think in some way, you hear the old thing. Generally, that may be possible for some of these ghosts, but I don't think it's like that for all of them.
Yeah, maybe residual, like Eileen said. It could also be residual, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, he was napping in his chair.
Oh, it's such an old man, Tom.
Too much alcohol you must have drank, Tom.
Being an old man, napping in his chair.
But what I was also going to say, I actually have a primary example, like when it comes to, like, again, with with whether they know that they're dead or not. But and Chris knows this story because I talked about it on another show. Is where there's a location that's up in New Hampshire. It's a hotel, but it's also a museum that you can go to and investigate, called the Shaker Inn. And the Shaker Inn was known to be owned by the Shakers, I believe. Yeah, the Shakers, that's what they were. But they weren't just a family, though. They were kind of like a secretive family that really I don't really know too much about the Shakers. They were just kind of a group that, you had to be really special to be part of this group. And they were just kind of very secretive, kept to themselves. But they did have one caretaker that did take care of the place. It was a guy by the name of Caleb Dyer. And he was for the most part, the only non-Shaker to be allowed on the premises of this building. Now, while he was living in this building in the 1860s, he was under the care of 2 little girls that were around 9 and 10 years old at that time, because their father was actually going to be fighting in the Civil War. So before he was going to fight, he brought him to Caleb Dyer and he goes, I want to leave my daughters with you. I want you to take care of them because I trust you. Because there's a good likely chance I'm not going to come back from this, because fighting wars, regardless of whose side you were on, was a death sentence. Unfortunately, I mean, I say that because he did manage to survive, but unfortunately he was dishonorably discharged because this guy, maybe there were some kind of mental problems with him. He was really kind of a nutcase, because he drank a lot. He was just not really a very well-liked citizen. But after he was dishonorably just discharged from the military, he tried to come back to the Shaker Inn to reclaim his daughters. So, he says, where are my daughters? And Caleb's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I came for my girls. But after he realized it, even then he was already drunk. And he was like, you know what? I mean, hey, Tom, I know you're their father, but the way how you are right now, I'm not going to give your daughters back with the way how you are. You know, I can already see things are going to go bad. You're not going to have them. But as he walked away, the guy, he drew out a pistol and shot Caleb Dyer right in front of his daughters, which the guy was eventually arrested. I don't remember what the whole trial was, but he was charged with it. But obviously, since his murder, he's been haunting the Shaker Inn ever since. But I think in his case, and there's a good reason why I kind of told a little bit of a story about it, is that he is still very attached to the building. And I think he's well aware that he is gone. He is dead. And that, yes, he was only like in his 60s, I think, when he was shot and killed. But he still thinks that he has a duty to focus on when it comes to the Shaker Inn. In fact, if you go there today, I mean, yes, like I said, it's a hotel museum today. Ironically enough, now the 5th and 6th floors, they don't use in that building. They probably haven't been touched in over 150 years. So everything's pretty much the same as it was in Caleb Dyer's day. I mean, you can still go in and investigate, but they don't actually use them like as rooms. And the way how I kind of see how they kind of left those 2 abandoned floors the same, and the fact that Caleb Dyer's spirit is still remaining in this building, again, I think due to the fact that he knows he's aware he's dead, but he has his reasons to still be in this building. I think in some way, he's keeping a secret, I think, even after 150 years after he was murdered. Because I think there's still something that to this day that Caleb Dyer doesn't want anyone to find out about, because Dyer's job Caleb Dyer's job prior to his murder was involving everyone and everything involving this building. And I think it could be very likely that his spirit just can't leave there because of it. There's so much more that he needed to accomplish. So, in his case, like I said, he is well aware, but he chooses not to leave.
See, there is a lot of cases, we've encountered some as well, where spirit could feel duty bound, or they feel very territorial. I spoke to Jamie Christopher about this, about the Covenanters prison, which is kind of world famous. And our theory is it's one of the former guards that used to guard the Covenanters. That's still active in the prison. He still sees that as his territory. And Jamie agrees with me, and we've experienced this at Loudon-Kirk as well with James Dempster, whose family's all buried in the Kirk Island, being there as well. He's still, for what we pick up, he's still there watching over his family. So even though they are aware that they're passed on, but they've still got that kind of job to do on earth. If that makes sense.
So
you know what I mean?
I have 2 thoughts about this. The first thought is, when something tragic happens, does that then create this sort of loop with someone? This infinite loop, so to say, with tragedy? Or is it that they have moved on, they are in their dimension that they're supposed to be once they've passed on, but when they dream and when they sleep, they go back to their previous life, and that's what you're seeing? That's also another theory. So that's something to think about as well.
Well, and another thing I forgot to mention this, like when you mentioned, Scott, about how some spirits are territorial or whatever, there was quite a connection to, like in this case with Caleb Dyer, because one of the caretakers he was interviewed on one of the older paranormal shows from over almost 25 years ago. He said he had a friend of his that went up to the long abandoned floors of the Shaker Inn, and not much really happened while he was there. But after he was coming down, he approached. There was this young couple that was going to check out the abandoned hallways as well. And his friend this caretaker's friend turned to them and told them, watch out for the handrail because it's creaky. As he was telling them, he saw the expression on the husband's face, like a completely different face appeared right in front of him. He said he saw this angry red face, and he said these eyes, these milky eyes, just kept drawing him in. And at that point, the caretaker's friend had to leave the building. And shortly after that encounter, a portrait was discovered in one of the abandoned floors. Shockingly, the portrait was of Caleb Dyer. They found an actual picture of him.
Interesting.
And when they later showed it to him, saying, that's exactly who I saw. That's exactly who I saw.
The spirits is so many ways of, contacting us, giving us signs, letting us know that they're still about. We've encountered where you have met so many times, or different ways that you can do it, and you'll encounter as well, Kate, once you get out to investigate. But just last thing is a question that Chris asked you earlier on, Kate. Do you consider yourself a skeptic?
Yes, I'm very skeptical. It takes a lot to convince me. I would love to believe, I really, really would, but I would say that I have beliefs in other things. So I am very skeptical about the paranormal, I guess. Yeah.
That's why
that's a good thing.
That's why we got to get you on an investigation.
I know, so I can experience it and see.
I've got a question for you, Nick, in a wee second. But that's a good thing. It's important to be skeptical. I think Nick will agree with me here, because we've been doing so many investigations. You go with other people, or you watch them on YouTube, whatever it might be, and every little noise is paranormal. They'll walk in a graveyard and they'll hear, that was a spirit. Everything's paranormal, and I'd say I'm 80% believer, 20% skeptic, because you've got to have that open mind, kind of thing, to be able to sit back and say, right, I know what I heard. Where could that have came from? Is there anything here that could have made that noise? And you look
like a rat or a bird,
But when you get a noise that doesn't fit in with your surroundings, then you can think, all right, that doesn't really go with where I am, but there's got to be, let's go hunting, let's go and have a wee look to see if there's anything that could have made that noise. Would you think, Nick?
I definitely would agree. In fact, I probably talked about this before, but it's also funny. It's not necessarily like in the case with sound, but even the case like with an apparition. And this was over a decade ago. I still remember this yesterday.
I'm not going anywhere near that doll. No.
That's supposedly that's what's going to be apparently going to be there for the Rock Island Paracon next weekend.
Yeah,
but
I'm good.
but anyways, though, probably the best thing I think I probably have ever debunked was we investigated this place that was called the Rossville Opera House over a decade ago in 2013 or 14. And long story short on that, it was an opera house. This was like in the central part of the state. It was an opera house in its days, but it also was one of those locations where the Freemasons also got together as well. So they had the rituals there. And
I am so interested in that. Okay, continue.
Yeah, it's really sadly the owner who owned it, he passed away a number of years ago. So I don't know what's going to happen with the opera house at this point. And but the Freemasons were actually the ones that kind of did run the opera house, because if they had a business that they were running, they were actually able to make money off of it. Of course, like back in the early 1900s to get the things they need to make their rituals occur. But during the investigation, there was one time I was hanging out in part of the back of it was like in the back of the opera house, like on the second or third floor, and it wasn't dark. There was a light in this room too. And a few minutes after I was standing there, I decided to head back to the lobby area and take a break.
Have some Nick sticks.
Yeah. And one of the guys then, a few minutes after I took a break, he comes running back into the room with us. He's like, "You guys are not going to believe what I just got. You got to see this." And it's like, I got a shadow figure on a up in the hallway. And it has like almost all the details to it. He's like wearing a cowboy hat. He's holding a gun. It's like an incredible shot. And after, of course, like we're all excited to see it ourselves. But then when I see the picture, I look at it for a second. I'm like, okay, you can't possibly expect me to believe this. That's me.
Oh, no.
That's clearly my shadow standing against the wall of the room. And I am wearing a hat, but I'm not wearing a cowboy hat. It's a hat that's pointed outwards. And
that's so funny.
And the supposed gun in the photo, that was me holding my phone.
He thought it was a cowboy.
He looked so disappointed when I told him
that.
It's just before we wind up, a question for you, Nick. We had the long started, we got two photographs in Greyfriars, and one of the photographs looked like a wizard, basically. That's what it looked like. So we put it into this group that we were party, and this guy came back to us and says, listen, he took the photograph apart and he says, listen, that's a plant pot you've caught. Mind that be? Aye. It was a huge big plant pot. But looking at the photo, you know, that looks like a hat and a beard. That looks like a kind of Gandalf sort of thing, you know what I mean? And the guy says, look, I hate it as a boy, but it's a plant pot. So the man we looked at it, it was one of these big, massive plants, you know, at the side of the
disappointing.
The but you were kind of gutty, I think, right? You know, fair enough. It's a plant pot. That's fine. We thought we
can't get over Chris's comment. Oh my god!
I know, that's what I'm seeing too.
You can even see the beast.
That just sounds so wrong, Chris.
It does. That sounds totally wrong. Nick, Eileen's asking, "Are you doing? Where is it? I've lost it. Are you
Your
doing
scary stories,
audio stories?"
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm actually kind of doing a comment. So yeah, I'm kind of doing a combination of a couple things. Right now, and I'm sure Eileen doesn't. I guess Eileen didn't know this. I'm actually going to be re-releasing some of my previous audiobooks because I have listened to some of my. I have listened. Don't start, Tom.
I can just hear Tom wheezing now.
Yeah,
with you mentioning your audio. There he is. There he is.
Seems to be quite a popular subject. This Nick's
Yes.
Yeah,
and then of course Pickle Tom. He says about the audiobooks again.
Can just hear him
he's
wheezing
like
in the background
already. But no, I'm going back and re-releasing some of my previous audiobooks because over the last year or so, I just, I think it was last Halloween season that I was finally having a chance of listening to these audiobooks because, in fact, Eileen will remember this. Hopefully the green screen doesn't shut it out. I have Corpse Cold New American Folklore, which was the very first book that I ever recorded. And as I was listening to some of them, there were a lot of hidden mistakes and errors that I missed when I was recording these. I hope so. No, 2020. Oh, I didn't see that part. 2029. But yeah, I discovered there were a lot of, because now that I've gotten a lot more experience and I've, gotten more knowledge of how these audiobooks work, there was one mistake that I made that I should have known when I first started doing this was that I did not carefully test listen to them or test read them to make sure that they actually sounded good. There were mispronunciations. There were parts of sentences that were missing. And then there was just parts like literally words in general I forgot to say. And, but also there was just some stories too that there were times that I was just reading way too fast that I thought to myself, because I compared them with some of the more recent audiobooks that I've done. And I realized that, you know what, as much as I hate to even think about it, I had to go back and re-record some parts of it. So yeah, so I am going to be re-releasing them, but I do have another hot Chris. But I am going to be making some new audiobook projects.
Yeah, that will be good.
Yeah, there's currently, this is the one that's kind of been in development hell as of right now. There was a new one I was working on, But because, again, of this discovery, this is why the new one is on hold. I was going to be working on now almost 2 years. I can't believe it. Yeah, it was 2 years ago I started. I was working on Nightmare Soup 3, which Kate did a story of. Pickle Tom did a story. In fact, Scott, you did a story too, in fact.
That's right. Never been released.
Yeah, so again, it's because again of these previous projects. I've been working so quick so I can get these re-released and then finally focus on the new series. So
that's why we've been winding him up about not releasing it until 2029 because it's taking him so long to do it.
That's last year, the year before, or something. I did that.
It was at least, it was a year or so. So it was like
I think it was 2 years ago.
Well, no,
2 years ago.
Yeah, it was you 2 years ago. Scott, I think you released yours. You gave me yours about a year ago.
Okay.
So there you go, Kate. What can I say?
But I've been working around the clock to getting these done.
Yeah, we know. You're working hard. You'll get them out. Don't worry.
I mean, I've sacrificed sleep over this. I mean, I'm not even joking. There have been times I've had to be up to literally 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning to get these.
We're just winding you up, Nick. Don't worry.
I know
I'm not.
Well, it adds more to the excitement for me because I want to get these done because I'm the one who's working on them.
It may be, Chris. So just before we wind up, I know I promised you before we came on the Minecraft thing. He's wanting to put a wee mention in for you. These two are obsessed with Minecraft. Now, I've nothing against anybody that plays Minecraft. Our daughter plays it. Personally, I don't see the point to it, but that's just me, But these two live for Minecraft, don't you?
We do. Every Sunday, we play Minecraft. There's a group of 4 of us at least, if not 5. And it's just so fun. We just have a blast. We really do.
I'm glad we're talking about it now since Tom is watching because I thought to myself, well, maybe we should talk about that when Tom's actually watching, and I'm glad we are.
Yeah,
but it is true hell when we're playing. It's me, her, Tom, and also Robert White from Australia. Sometimes Don also joins too, but it's mainly the majority 4 of us. Tom is absolutely right.
You got to have Tom and Nick on, Scott, and they will just be absolutely hilarious together and talking about Minecraft. So we try to create a lot of Minecraft together, apart from Nick, who just builds dirt buildings for some reason.
I'm trying to build Philly.
Yeah. We build castles and lots of great stuff. Tom is the mastermind of engineering in Minecraft, so he creates these incredible builds, and I do my best. Robert does his best, and I feel like Nick is sometimes more of a hindrance than a help. Bless him. And then at a certain point in the night when everyone's just getting a bit tired, and there's a good hour of just killing each other. And
that's the other thing. You forgot to mention that.
Kate
also has a habit of killing me a lot.
Accidentally, on purpose.
I don't think so.
No offense, I'm the Eileen on this one. I don't get the whole gaming concept. I've got a couple of games on my phone. One's a sniper, one's a fighter.
I don't even think it's just gaming. I think it's because you're playing with your friends. So we can chat about everything and anything, and you're kind of creating something together, and it's just such a laugh, it's just so fun. So I don't even think it's even just a gaming thing. It's a community, it's just so funny.
We're always hoping to have more people join us than just the 4 of us. We've been trying. Joe at one point tried joining. Yeah. But he was having a rough time with it. I know Chris wants to join, but he hasn't really been able to purchase it yet. Eventually, he will.
I would join, but I've got paint to watch drying.
I would say, if you ever did play with us, Scott, I would just say play at your own risk, because most likely, Kate, she's going to kill you.
She's going to bump me. I tried it once. Her daughter got me to try it, and I just didn't. Sarah and the wee one, they play this game. What's it called? 99 what?
99 Nights in the Forest.
99 Nights in the Forest, it's called. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't heard of that one, no.
It sounds a little familiar.
It's on Roblox.
It's on
Roblox.
Roblox. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's on Roblox.
I don't,
But
yeah.
they can sit and play it for hours and they get carried away. Obviously, I'm not involved, but they'll go, right, go and grab the axe, right? You just killed it, right? Go, and you think they were actually living it.
It is serious. It's serious stuff, definitely.
I know they shout at each other and all the rest. Yeah, they're going to follow each other in a game, and I was just sitting watching them.
Even if you join Minecraft as a beginner, you would be the same level as Nick. He's been playing for 2 years, Nick. And you haven't learned how to mine anything.
I mean,
you've got to learn. And I got you that book for your birthday, explaining about all the crafting and what you can build, what you can make. So
I've been reading it. Trust me, I have.
Are you going to surprise us? Are you going to start making?
They already made a game.
Quite hopeless, Kate. Aye.
There's the game Phasmophobia. That's like the most popular paranormal game to play.
No, I like paint drying lights.
I have to jump off now, guys, because
I'm just going to
okay, awesome.
Anyway.
Great.
So what's next? Just quickly, what's up next for you guys and girls?
The same as always, just researching in Minecraft. What about you, Nick? Audiobooks?
Yes, that's kind of the same thing for me. I mean, I don't really have much investigations, but I do have at least 2, maybe 3 more Paracons left for the rest of this year. But also, yes, Minecraft, still doing some of the other shows, and also Minecraft as well. And the audiobooks, yeah.
So there you go. That's what's up for her again. I'm going to get the 2 of them back on because we're not finished yet. But I'll hold on these as a wee side after we come off. So a big thanks to Kate and to Beef Stick, Pickle Stick, whatever the hell you call it, I don't know.
Nick Stick.
Oh God! One of these days I'm going to have to try. One of these days I'm also going to try to get Kate to eat rotten flesh in Minecraft. And Tom too.
So we're going. You put me up what I was saying. I'm going to wind it. So tomorrow night, we're back on our last show until November. We're actually doing solid history tomorrow night. No paranormal. We're doing history. We have Maxwell Muir, the genius of Bannockburn, coming in with Gary from the Society of William Wallace. We're going to be looking at Robert the Bruce's life and Robert the Bruce's connection to William Wallace, how they met, and then looking at the significance of the Battle of Bannockburn had on Scottish history in 1314. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. So thanks everybody for watching. You will see these 2 nutters again.
Yeah, thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your day or evening, whatever it is. All right, folks.
Thanks,
Take care. Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Have a good one.